What is up, my fellow Sackers? I have a banger video, guys, for you guys today. I'm joined by three powerful duelists, and they all share one thing in common, and is that they play frogs. So I don't think any of these guys need an intro. I feel like they are very prolific, and when I think about frogs, they are the first duelists I think about, and so I'm really glad to get them on my channel all at one time. So without further ado, we'll start the intros. Fraser, we'll start with you. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Fraser Smith. I'm the winner of YCS Atlanta and also the winner of YCS Indianapolis's Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. Mostly known for Hero Frog since it's a deck that I recently innovated in 2023 to be the modern build of Hero Frogs following Ronak's success with it, him and Cameron in 2022. And yeah, it's been like my namesake deck at this point. I love it. It's a fantastic deck. A lot of people are playing it and seeing success with it. And yeah, so that's pretty much the intro for me.
Yup, and we'll definitely talk way more about our list and everything later on. All right, Rog, Granddaddy Rog,
Yes.
if you'd like to go.
Hello, yeah, I'm Raunik, and I like to make funny decks. I like to make decks that I mean I sure do. And I like to make decks that inspire people. And I like to make decks that show people that the format is still evolving, and that there's still a lot of potential in the format. And you can certainly be assured that there's plenty more where that came from. You can see on the screen there's already loads, and I'm not stopping.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Mr. 10-foot.
Hi, I'm 10 foot. Let's see. I'm a somewhat well-known player. I've topped a few tournaments, won a few tournaments, and yeah, people are happy to be around me, I guess.
No, totally. Thanks, guys. So what I'm really excited about is that, like, Fraser, you're kind of like, the modern frog player, I guess you could say. 10-foot, you're the trap. You love your traps. You have a very unique take on decks. And then Mr. Rog, you're the kind of the frog granddaddy. You've made like every single variant of frogs and popularized every single variant out there. So you're just frog expert king here. So the first thing I want to do is, you experts, I don't think anyone's done this yet. Originally, I was just gonna have this as a slide, just talking about the Frog Hero matchups and what you guys think about it. But I figured it'd be more fun if we kind of just make the Frog Hero matchup chart. I don't think this has been made before.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I haven't seen one yet. So you guys know what the matchup charts are, right? This is just an example of Marth's melee matchup charts, but basically, like, matchups are even 50-50, 55-45 means slightly in favor, etc., etc., etc. So I have the tier list maker right here. I have the decks that I made from my previous tier list video that I consider like the top-ish decks, and I have them in order. So to make sure this video doesn't take, a million years, there are 20 decks. I'm going to put a 25-minute timer for 20 decks. And it's kind of fast, right? 25 minutes for 20 decks. I feel like we could talk about this for ages. But I think you guys can do it. 25 minutes, 20 decks. The only thing I ask is we try not to talk over each other. I know there's going to be some controversial. I feel like there's going to be a little controversy for some matchups, but we'll start there, all right? 3, 2, 1. So, Value Turbo, where are we putting it?
55-45, Hero Frog favor.
Agree, disagree?
I think it's pretty 50-50.
I would say 55-45, maybe 60-40, but I would lean towards like one or the other between those.
All right. Well,
But you think it's Hero Frog favor too a little bit?
Hero Frog favored for sure, but
Yeah. Sometimes it's 60-40. I think it's die roll dependent for that part of it, or how many blowouts the Value Turbo player draws throughout the game. Their Dark Arm Burial Return matter a lot. If they mill those cards, I think that the matchup is easily 60-40 at that point, right? But yeah.
Okay, I will put it in the middle between all three of you guys then for now. 55-45.
yeah, that's fair.
All right.
That's fair.
Pure Blackwing.
50-50 for me at least.
50-50.
I think 50-50 too. Every time I play this matchup, so I will say this. This is the matchup that probably gives me the most fear because it's one of the big three decks. It's a respectable deck, a super aggro deck, and I always feel like Whirlwind makes this deck better than every deck in the entire format, essentially. So 50-50 if they, yeah, 50-50.
Well, basically every game that you play against Blackwings, you kind of have to hope that like as long as they don't open Whirlwind or Dust Shoot, then
Yeah.
I can play the game. And from there, then you can pretty much take control or whatever. But if they do, then it can be very much beyond your control.
Yeah.
Blackwing has like the highest variance between the highs and the lows, like some of the lowest lows, some of the highest highs. So
Those hands
Yeah.
with like Blizzard and just Vayu,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, this deck is terrible.
yeah, OTK you
Yeah.
turn 2, or sometimes they're just like bricking the for 10, 15 turns. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay, Dragon Turbo. I personally think this is the deck's worst matchup, but you guys are the experts here.
I would be more scared of Blackwing than Dragon Turbo, honestly.
Oh, I feel like this is probably 50-50 as well, if I'm being realistic, just because the fact that obviously they can brick, and Hero Frogs is a bit more aggressive than a lot of other frog decks. Like you can normal Stratos, search Ocean, special swap frog, play Miracle Fusion immediately. And that's all three of the cards I just named, you play 3 of them in your deck, right? You play 3 Stratos, 3 swaps, usually, and then like, 3 miracles. So you can easily be very aggressive, and I feel like that kind of loses to really early aggression, but at the same time, it's not in your control. Dragon Turbo, a lot, like when they do win, I feel like I really couldn't do much about it. So yeah, I kind of feel like this is 50-50, like a coin flip matchup. It's scary, and I don't know if my side deck really helps.
Yeah, I would say either 55-45 or 50-50. Like it's close, but at the same time, like yeah, dragons can always do dragon things. So
Rog, you have any thoughts?
Well, I think Dragon Turbo typically likes to play against Frog. That's what, like, if you ask a Dragon Turbo player what they want to play next round, they're going to say Frogs. So it's also true that Hero Frogs does play better than Frog Narcs and whatever all slower Frog decks against Dragon Turbo. And one thing to add as well is Junk Synchron is actually a big help with Junk Warrior, like suddenly pushing for 1-turn kills. I don't know if Urbellum is necessarily like a super popular pick at the moment, but if you do have Urbellum, that is a massive help too. And of course, Absolute Zero is a huge problem for them, that they're constantly saying like, what can I side for Absolute Zero? What can I side for Vandy's Fiend? These kinds of things. So
Dragon Turbos generally don't have enough Lightning Vortex for all of your threats. Like making a duplock, sometimes that forces Vortex on its own. Sometimes you have Vanities that has to force the Vortex. Sometimes Ab-Zero forces Vortex. They don't have enough Lightning Vortex for your cards. So I would say it's
Wow. Yeah, you guys convinced me 50-50, I guess.
Yeah.
I think so.
Is that good?
I think that I'll say this as the last little point here. So Dimitri's build that plays Light Darkness Dragons, like I think that build has a better, like obviously, right? It has a better Dragon Turbo matchup. So if Frog Hero people start to adopt Light Darkness Dragon in their main deck, because some people can side or whatever, but if you adopt it in your main deck, your matchup becomes incredibly like skewed towards Hero Frog at that point. If you're playing Lad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of ways to counteract that deck, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, this is the one matchup where Threatening Roar shines the most. Like if they True-Mate or Heavy Storm and you chain Roar, it's like they're in a really big
Yeah.
This is
they're in a
true.
pickle.
This is true. Okay, Amaryllis. I feel like this is a little bit of controversy with this one, because I talked to Fraser about this one. I'll let him talk for it.
I think Amaryllis is 55-45 Hero Frog favorite. Every time I play against it, like unless they open really broken, I pretty much just beat them. Like, you need to draw your miracles or whatever. But I think that now that I'm playing Mirror Force and Torrential, cards that I wasn't playing in my main deck before, when I played against Amaryllis and YCS Indy, those cards literally won me game 1. I drew both of them, and he went Lone Fire into Titania. I went Torrential. On the following turn, he went like Miracle Fertilizer and attack, and I went Mirror Force. And if those cards were just discard traps or like something like that, cards that don't trade favorably with the Titanial, I think that the matchup would have been a lot more skewed in their favor. But now that I'm playing blatant 1-for-1 removal for Titanial, and it could be more than 1-for-1 if they get too aggressive, but those cards have helped that matchup for me a lot. So I'm going to say 55-45 Hero Frog.
I would say 60-40, honestly, with all of the mass destruction Hero Frogs has. Like Torrential main deck, amazing card. I think that's as good of a card as Gores. Mirror Force, great. Let's see. You can Absolute Zero being bigger than Titanial is huge on its own. Like Swaprog or Treeborn with Ab-Zero just runs it over, and they really don't have that many tools. I don't really ever struggle with that matchup. I'm always excited to see it, honestly. So 60-40 for me.
I would say it's kind of very experience dependent. Like it's a matchup where the smallest mistakes can really punish you. And you really need to understand exactly what their deck does at all times. You can't be caught by surprise by a Mark with the Rose or a DDR, and that those are always omnipresent. Just be aware of what they're capable of doing to you, and you can probably hang on. But another thing actually is people ask me a lot about discard traps because I play a lot of heavy discard traps against Amaryllis, and they're like, "Oh, that's terrible against Titanial." But in fact, no, because like the great thing is you special Treeborn attack, normal swap, kill 2 tokens or an Amaryllis, whatever, bounce the Treeborn, set discard trap, kill the Amaryllis or kill the Titanial, and then that already solves the problem. So it can be quite favored, but also at the same time, Amaryllis players, they do like to play against frogs, so I'm keeping it closer to 50-50 than 45 is pretty fair. 55.
So 55-45. Okay, but you are down to play that matchup, is what you're saying?
Oh sure, yeah, I think it's slightly favored for sure, but it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I'll take Amaryllis over Blackwing any day of the week.
Oh, that's not even
Like,
a question.
Yeah,
That is not. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next one, Zombie Hero. I don't know if you guys have played against like Siltius or JKXO, but they are killing it, and that deck is scary as hell. So
I think Frogs beats decks like this. All the Diva Hero-esque decks like that, I think that Frog Hero beats them because of the inevitability it has on those decks. Like, they have to, at some point, explode using a lot of their resources. And they're unlike Frogs, when they do make a push, they actually use all their cards to do it. They, like, bare their soul, and then you live, and you clean... Frogs is the best cleanup deck in the format, with Miracle and Econ and Brain and Caius and everything else, right? So, like, every time I play against this deck, I'm either pushing to just win the game flat out, or I'm waiting until they explode to crack back, just like live through their one explosion. And I think that plays out pretty much the same in every time I play against this deck. Also, Super Poly is a card.
So are you putting at 55-45 or 60-40?
I think it's 60-40.
Mm-hmm.
Rog agrees. 10-foot?
For regular zombies, I'd definitely say 60-40. This one is a faster variant, so I could see it maybe being 55-45, but I have a pretty good win rate versus zombies, so I'm always excited to see zombies.
Okay.
I don't think they want to... Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they want to play against a deck that plays Fader or Threading Roar. And Frogs can be on both of those cards or some combination. I think that is like a problem.
Yeah, that's true. If you have it, it's just over. All right, so...
And also like Darkness Dragon. Sorry to put it up.
Yeah.
That's true. So I'm assuming Diva Hero is the same camp?
Yeah, it's even worse, right? Like, I agree with 10-foot. I think that Diva Hero is even worse. I think that at least Zombie Hero can do it so quick that maybe you lose just because of how fast they go TK you. I think Diva Hero, especially if they're on the build with like Sarks and stuff like that, like those 2 turns, bro, by the time you get your card, I've dupe blocked you, I'm set up, right? Like, I'm set up by the time you get your gold Sark cards and all that. So I think that it's 60-40, but it might even be more favored in Frog's favor, honestly. They can't deal with Vanity's Fiend. That's why Cairo doesn't play the deck anymore. Like, a true hero quit that deck because just a Vanity's Fiend solos it completely.
I think it depends on the build. Like, Cairo's deck is all gas, no defense, versus like Oscar. I don't know his last name, but there's a popular Oscar Diva Hero player who plays, bottomless prison. It's more of a it's less of a all-in kind of deck. That deck I struggle more versus that version of Diva Hero than Zombie Hero because of the 7900 with Diva and a level 4. So I'm more scared of that than Zombie Hero. I would say maybe 55-45, but
okay.
Personally.
Seems pretty 60-40 to me.
60-40. Okay, yeah.
That's my impression.
All right, I'll leave it at 60-40. Okay, Christian's run. This one's I don't know. This is also up here in my opinion, but
I think it's 45-55.
Yeah, same.
This is the first deck I would put in that category.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
It's just the inevitability aspect, or Christia. Like, what is wrong with this deck for Frogs?
Game 1, we don't have many ways to really deal with Christia. Like, at least my build doesn't. I play Rakeki Break, not Wing Blast or Karma. I mean, I guess they do the same thing. So unless you're maining Karma Cut, then Wing Blast and Rakeki Break actually do the exact same thing to Christia. The point is that if Christia drops game 1, I feel like they just win that game virtually, unless you drop them low and you could steal their monster and do like this is my last ditch effort brain control attack for game type thing. So that's the first problem. I think that DD Crow helps this matchup a crap ton. And I learned that from Rawneck. I side 3 DD Crows. And I think that when they go Beckoning Light or when they get the 4 fairies or whatever, you just crow them. And honestly, like, that can solve the matchup almost. Like, it's very, very good against this particular deck, but it is still a matchup I do not want to play against this ever.
Yeah, game 1 Christia can be very awkward. And another thing with Frogs is it's not. So when I played Vayu, this was Vayu favored because you can put 4,000 while they're struggling with their bricked hands. But Frogs won't always be able to punish an empty board, so it gives them time to find their soul to recharge, get their grave set up, and whatnot. Yeah, I don't play DD Crow because I'm scared of the Lightsworn monsters beating me in, and you're holding like Crow Soul Release. Same reason I don't play Soul Release, but yeah, it's one of the first deck that we've seen so far. That's I would say Christia Sorn favored.
Yeah, it just takes all the worst aspects of Lightsworn, like the casino and the just random stacks, and turns it up so far. And those games where you just like get Christia turn 2, and you're just like, okay, this is Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yep.
There's nothing I could possibly do. Okay, GG, good matchup.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, and Christia Sorn players will also play different floodgates. Like some will play Imperial Iron Wall, some will play Mask of Restrict. So it's it's difficult to prepare for all of the versions of Christia Sorn you'll see.
It's true.
Very
as well.
true.
Okay, we have 13 decks left, and there's 13 minutes on the clock.
Ah,
All right.
Next, Diva Hero Beat.
60-40.
I'd say 55-45, but yeah, I could see 60-40 also.
somewhere between that. Yeah, I can't decide.
I could go either or.
Yeah, it's around there.
Fraser, you used to lose to this deck. I remember you
I
saying.
did. I didn't know how to play against it. I didn't understand that just being defensive against it actually wins you the game. Like if you literally just set a dupe frog. So turn 1, if you have swap frog and dupe frog in your hand, you know you're playing against Diva Hero Beat. The correct play is to set dupe frog and not summon swap frog Sentryborn.
Yeah.
That literally will win you the entire game. That doing that one thing where you don't take 18 and 1900 all of a sudden will win you the entire game.
Yeah.
So once I learned that one little thing, this matchup has become way more bearable. I'm not saying that I can't lose it, because obviously if I have a 60-40, 40% of the time they still can beat me. But I think between that, side deck Super Poly, side deck Snowman Eater, side deck Triple Dust Tornado, like from my perspective, these cards just really help to make this matchup. They don't do anything that's really unfair, to be honest. So like Frogs does a ton of dupe blocking them is so ridiculous. Like once you dupe block this deck, it's one of the decks that really struggles.
I think this matchup is tricky, but once you get some experience playing it, it's Frog favored easily.
Yep, nothing really more to add.
Okay, James Arc Twilight. I don't know if you guys have played against this deck, but
That deck is kind of a, I don't know. It looks funny to me.
Yeah,
I'd say
I don't have
60-40.
experience against it. I'm just gonna 60-40 it as well. It doesn't play Christia, right? So like why?
I mean,
It's just like a worst. I feel like it's just worse Christia Sworn if it's
Yeah, same.
It's not as tough as Christie Sworn, but it is definitely very aggressive and like it has a lot of things like Dark Armed and what's the other one? Chaos Sorcerer and DD Crows in the main that can be really annoying. So it also has Caius and it has a couple other things that can catch you by surprise if you're not prepared for it enough. So definitely get some practice against the deck; it'll help. But it's not a pushover. It's just definitely not as hard as Christie Sworn. So I'm saying probably 55-45 for Frogs. I think, in my opinion.
It's fair.
okay, I'll put it up there.
You think?
Yeah, it's fair. Because Lightsworn can always just Lightsworn you. You know,
Yeah.
you can always just get. But he plays one wolf, so I'm not really afraid of the mills too much.
I don't know. His
Like the
with
one
main
wolf.
deck Crow too. It's like you have way more brick combinations. I'm not that scared.
I just imagine his deck being a bricky mess. If you,
Yeah, it is.
I don't think he would bring this to a real tournament. Like I don't think that I'd see him playing this at Ultimate Time Wizard anything. I could be wrong, but I would be very surprised.
I
Yeah,
think I've
that's
seen
the
people
Lightsworn
bring it
deck.
to like Peak of the Beak and World Championship qualifiers, stuff like that. I think they've done pretty well
Yeah.
some topics. I think
It's a-
maybe I remember.
It's a deck for that, I think. Yeah, like those type of online tournaments. It makes sense.
Okay, Machina Control. I've seen some
60-40.
people say this is hard,
Nah.
but I don't know.
I don't
60-40.
agree. I think all 3 of the gods agree that this is 60-40 in Frog's favor.
Machina
Yeah,
Fortress struggles so heavily with Duplock, it's not even funny. Like
And traps, bro. Any trap. I always say Fortress's biggest problem in the format is that literally all traps, torrential, mirror force, deep prison, bottomless, oppression, like compulse, name a trap. It's good against solemn judgment. Every trap is good against Fortress. There isn't a single trap that isn't good against it. And like Frogs play traps now. So I don't think that people are like, oh, but like the Monarchs, if you target it, like, bro, no one's doing that. I'm econing,
Yeah.
I'm taking it, and then I'm attacking your guy, then I'm tributing it for Caius. Like it's just not, it's not good versus
free
Frog.
real estate.
Yes.
Yeah. And they also have problems with zero as well, of course, and even Junk Synchron for Catastor and stuff like this. There's a lot of different ways. If there's any matchup, I would call 65-35. I don't think there is one, but this would be kind of close to that.
I don't know. Fairy Pure is kind of up there.
Fair, actually, yeah, that's true.
We can talk about that real quick. You guys think Fairy Pure is 65-35,
Oh, yeah.
60-40?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
deck is atrocious.
Pretty much. I have to
He's
say,
just
yeah.
waiting to lose.
That's never that's one of the few decks where I open double dupe frog and I'm like, it's okay, it's fucking fairies.
Yep.
I will
I
say,
won because I tributed for Dark Dust Spirit against that deck, and it just
Mhm.
tribute set for Dark Dust Spirit, and that was pretty much like, okay, can deal.
Well, you play against Chaos Fairies, right?
Yeah, I guess that was Chaos Fairies, but like it has the same exact problem. Like those decks have the same problem where a Dark Dust Spirit type of monster or a Snowman Eater, because also a Snowman Eater Tim, like those cards are just hard to deal with. Hamster, Snowman Eater, Dupe Frog, Substitute, like all of those things in defense mode are really hard to deal with.
Mhm. I will say though that the hero monsters themselves do lose a lot of value in the fairy matchup because they they can crash into your Alias and your Stratos and everything. So that's the only thing that is holding me back from saying it's like a 65-35.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Krisha is a card. Okay, I don't know if you guys have played against Dragon Control, Flip Dragon, Trap Dragons, whatever you want to call it, but any thoughts?
60-40.
Yep, really strong matchup.
Yeah, it's
Super
too.
strong.
They don't have a reliable way of breaking Duplock. It's like if you can get it set up early and you can just poke at them with Unifrog, the amount of games I've won just like playing only frogs and not committing any boss monsters is pretty high. So
my opinion on this is I agree with the other two, but I just think that in the games where they draw Future Fusion, it goes to 50-50. That's my take.
Yeah, even then it's 50-50, and like I've won so many games against Future Fusion.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even a guarantee that they win when they do it, but it does change the scope of the deck, kind of how Whirlwind puts it into like, Whirlwind makes us 30-70 or whatever, right? Like it gets really bad. I feel like Future Fusion does the same thing, but it not as broken as Whirlwind. So 50-50.
yeah, Unifrog is MVP versus that deck.
Yes.
We'll say it's definitely easier than Machina. I'll put it that way.
Okay, 7
Just
minutes,
saying.
7
Okay.
decks. Gladiator Beasts. I mean,
This is
excited.
controversial.
45.
What's your take, 10-foot?
I feel like I'm more scared of Blackwings than Gladiator Beasts. Like,
I am
not even
too.
trolling.
I think Hero Frogs specifically has a positive matchup against Glabbies. I think that the narrative that people spew about frogs against Glabbies doesn't apply to Hero Frogs specifically. I think that the frog decks that go Summon Swap Frog, Sentryborn, Bounce Pass with Open Field are the ones that you're talking about when you say Glabbies has a good matchup, because that's what people were used to when they came in the Edison format. Frogs have evolved so much with all different builds that have been played. Hero Frogs is one of the strongest because turn 1 Stratos, 40% chance opening it. Turn 1 Stratos is legit a problem. An 1800 monster, and if I have a discard trap on top of that, and God forbid I know you're playing Glabbies. Like if I know you're playing, I think the matchup gets worse because I play differently. Like I won't leave my field open, right? Like I'm more inclined to go summon Alias turn 1 and then summon Swap Frog turn 2, as opposed to summoning Swap Frog turn 1 and then passing or whatever. You know what I mean? So like the matchup scales with knowledge. And I think that Hero Frogs having Alias and Stratos and just like more of a easy to summon field presence makes this matchup not as hard as people think it is. And Miracle Fusion being an extender is crazy.
Yeah, Soul Exchange also completely devastates this deck. Like if you ever get a Soul Exchange, Caius banish a like Work Chariot or some other random card, you're just in a huge lead. So
yeah,
I'm putting it 50-50. I've always just thought that way. Especially now, like this year when Gladiator Beast has topped the most, it's also been when they've just had the most completely random, unpredictable
frog hate
different things that they have in their lists that catches you totally off guard. And also they have stuff like the second Retiari. They have like Soul Release in the side deck sometimes, random things that are frog hate on top of the frog hate. I don't trust it to be more than 50-50 in any case for
That's
myself
fair.
personally.
Yeah.
Ronak, I think it's time for you to bring back Mausoleum Frogs too.
That's all of my decks are coming back at some point. It's all a rotation.
Yeah, because I think Gear Town against GB, like GB, there are a lot more GBs now. I played against 2 of them in the last EWCQ, and I wasn't playing Frog. I was playing a different deck. I was playing Machina Control, but there's a lot more GBs than there ever has been, and I feel like Light Darkness Dragon and Gajillatron Dragon now are like really good against it. But that's a different discussion.
Yep. Okay. Quick draw. I don't think this is that bad, but
60-40. It's quick draw. Deck's useless.
I'm only afraid of the deck if it summons Drill Warrior. If they don't summon Drill Warrior, I think that the deck is a joke. But if they summon Drill Warrior, you can actually lose to them just looping Dandelion because it blocks everything that you do. So, but I mean, it's quick draw, right? It's the games 2 and 3. You summon Vanity's Fiend after they do summon Drill Warrior, and then you just kind of laugh at them. So,
I don't even always bring Vanity's Fiend versus this matchup because I have cards like Compulsory, I have cards like Needle Ceiling, which they're not used to playing versus. So my side deck is more better suited to playing versus it, so I'm less scared, I'd say.
I've always thought it's a very strong matchup, and I've always just found it so funny that people say it's not favored, because it really just is those games when they have like Foolish plus Lone Fire for Titanial, or they have like random Dandelion plus Quick Draw. and they just solo you, and you happen to not draw any traps. Those are the only times, basically.
Okay, so 60-40.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, instant zombies. I know this deck's fallen off the map, but 3 Book of Life. I don't know.
I don't have a strong opinion on this. No one plays it is the problem. I don't have much experience against it, but I don't think it's that good.
I actually think it's got one of the strongest frog matchups of all the zombie variants, and that's because of, again, the triple Book of Life. It's more explosive. It punishes the turn 1 thing with Herb Element really easily, really quickly. And also, the other thing is that post side, it summons Vanity's Fiends, and it really focuses on that. I've even seen 3 Vanity's Fiend post side because of the instant fusions, and that can be an actual pain. So you really have to specifically focus on Vanity's Fiend post side when you're siding for that attack.
I don't have enough experience then. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I
I'm
have a
thinking
lot of experience with
55.
this, funnily enough. Fitz and I
55.
always play versus this, and when we first played, he would kick me in. But as I learned the matchup and started adopting like different side patterns and whatever, I got it to a point where I was consistently beating him with, funnily enough, Deep Prison, because like not even trolling, because they don't want to commit synchros into a back row. So often what they'll do is poke with their recruiter, so Goblin, Turtle, and you don't want to be using your discard traps on those. But when you flip when you have your Deep Prison, now suddenly their Book of Life is turned off, their Mizuki is less valuable, and they don't have as many pieces to go for the big synchro plays, and then you can catch up, get your draws, and then just get a huge tempo lead. So I would say it's very frog favored.
And that's also good against Vanity's Fiend. That's good against the
Yeah.
Reaper when they revive that, and so on. Lots of things.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, but once you get it down, then it's favored.
Okay,
Yep.
so Fraser, you don't really have an opinion on this because you don't play it.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. I don't think
10-foot?
I don't think the instant zombie deck is a good deck though, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like I don't think that it's a deck that I go into a tournament and I'm thinking about it at all. I'm probably just putting in my triple DD Crow, my Karma Cut, my Deep Prison, and calling it a Soul Exchange, Vanity's Fiend, call it a day. Like I think that I'm just gonna win, honestly.
I would bet on your deck with that.
Yeah.
So 60-40?
I think 60-40, if I have to say something, yeah.
Okay,
How much time you got left?
1 minute 45 seconds. All right, Norlaris.
We're the best top deck in the format, so I'll run this game with you. If you want to play top deck shenanigans, I'll top deck Miracles and Monarchs and Junk Synchron and stuff like that. So I think we win this matchup. Also, I saw Triple Crow
60-40. Yeah, especially the Triple Crow. That's MVP.
and Karma Cut.
This is a one matchup where I'm not as favored because I don't play Crow, but I'd still take this
Mhm.
matchup any day. Of the
But you
week.
like the instant zombie one. You have the Deep Prisons and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Okay, pure hero beat stun, no divas.
60-40.
yeah, same. This is the one that can't break through a Dupe Frog. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, all right, I guess I get 10 draw phases. All right, let's see what happens.
triple Dust Tornado too. What I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Rog, would you agree with that?
Yep, it's just the Diva that's scary, really, because you
Mhm.
leave a Stratos, it's fine against your Dupe Block, when then suddenly there's summon a Diva against that, and then that starts to blow it up. So without the Diva, I don't care.
Okay, pure Lightsworn.
Terrifying to me because I lost 2 times too at Deck Devastators like last year. And I remember the way I lost was that he just milled Double Wolf turn 1. And then game 3, he milled Double Wolf again when I attacked the Raikou. So for me, I just have PTSD. I don't know if this deck is actually one of our bad matchups, but like Arcus is scary to me. People don't talk about this enough, but I just think Arcus is an insane card against all frog decks. Like it is terrifying. JD, Wolf, 3 Wolves, it could be annoying. So to me, this matchup is very volatile. I think that is probably 55-40 Hero Frogs, because I do think that Hero Frogs is the better deck overall. Like I think the Hero Frogs is the deck that will draw more consistently. If we played 100 matches, I think that I win at least 55 of them against that deck. But yeah.
I would agree with 55-45, maybe 50-50, but yeah, it's Lightsworn. You can always mill Double Wolf or draw Double Wolf. So
Okay, that's
I'll put it
time.
this way.
So we're just
This is one of the decks that people ask me about the most when talking about Hero Frog and have to beat certain decks. This is one of the matchups they have the most problems with in general.
okay. Where are we putting this?
55.
Where are we actually putting this as losing?
We were putting at 55. It sound like Rodnick said?
Oh, 55.
Yeah, 55. Yeah, we're
Okay,
winning,
I
but
said 45.
it's tough.
it's tough. It can be
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to talk about this one. No time. Frog Mark just put it.
55-45.
Okay.
They don't have the heroes.
55-45, yeah. Miracle Fusion is the best card in the Frog Mirror outside of some of the other side deck cards, but that is turn skip.
Hey, awesome! Wow. Okay, you guys have one losing matchup. This deck seems kind of broken. No.
This is the most biased tier list ever. Obviously, we are going to. I didn't realize that it would turn out like this. Look at the pyramid that we built here.
I think
I
you
mean,
guys
I think it's
had-
true.
You guys had good reasons for everything, and I think most of these are okay, maybe this is a thing, but other than that,
Right,
it's like
right.
I'm thinking
everything else is
GB
real.
50-50, but that's
Yeah,
just me.
I could see GB being 50-50 depending on what sidecards they bring. Like if they don't bring sidecards, I'd say it's favored. But if they're bringing like triple mask and maybe rugs, then
Double
Yeah.
Retiari.
yeah, double Retiari.
All right, but this
Yeah,
is
put
cool.
it 50-50.
I think
I wouldn't argue against 50-50, honestly.
Me- I honestly wouldn't. I think it's I wouldn't argue. I would just accept because I think looking at this spread, we have so much in our favor that I can't argue for just one matchup at this point. I accept.
So we want to move GBs up here.
You
Yeah.
can, and I don't think we no one's gonna fight you on it. And it looks prettier too. It just like scales, like it just gets.
Nice symmetry.
Yeah, I love how it looks.
This is cool though. First time I've seen this, so I'm glad we got this out of the way. Okay, got that out of the way in just a little over time, so that's good. Okay, next thing I want to talk about. This we don't the list of David RBT's RBTLA second place list. The list I don't really care about talking as much. It just has a bunch of talking points that I want to go over, and they just coincidentally happen to be all in his list. Especially the first one, and I want 10-foot to start on this. No 1-for-1. What do you 10-foot? What do you think on that?
I have a love-hate relationship with 1-for-1. Like when you open, like in some spots where you have like Stratos or Junk, it's amazing. You just blow out the game completely. And other spots where you're top decking versus like a Frogmare, for instance, you draw 1-for-1 and you just lose so much tempo. I'm not too against cutting 1-for-1 because I love consistency. I don't want to, I don't ever want to brick on any of the cards I draw. And 1-for-1 is one of the most common mid-game bricks that you will draw. So I can see the reasoning for sure. Like,
Fraser Rog. I
I
know
think this
Fraser has a lot to say on this.
I mean, I really don't have a lot to say. I talk about this in other videos on my channel, but I think that this is a non-negotiable for me and Hero Frogs. I think that the blowout aspect of it outweighs the brickiness of it. It's the same category as Dust Shoot to me. They both absolutely win the game when they resolve under the right circumstance. Dust Shoot's circumstance is just going first with it, or like honestly, you don't even need to go first with Dust Shoot sometimes. But 1-for-1, I put it in the same category of if it resolves in certain scenarios. I've won games specifically because my hand happened to have 1-for-1 in it. Like I'll play my turn out against GBs, they'll stop my first thing that I do, and then I'll go 1-for-1 and like continue to play, and they just don't have that extender that built-in extender part is like insane to me. So to me, it's a non-negotiable. And I think that it gets better when you're playing like malicious and stuff and multiple junks or whatever. But I played even without all those cards, and it's still just one of the best cards in the deck to me. Like I love it.
Yeah, same. I was going to point out the double junk in that list where it definitely fits with that, as well as Sangan. Like it definitely goes with the Sangan super well. So I don't know. I feel like in trying to fit all the draw traps, there probably just had to be some kind of a cut, and maybe that just was the card. I don't know, but
Yeah, I agree with
I haven't
Tifa
played
too.
this list, but
oh, about breaking mid-game. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. But I think that we have to accept that there's a trade-off for power.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I built my decks. There's a trade-off at some point. Like Miracle Fusion is also a brick, but like
Yeah.
we like I'm going to upload a video very soon on my channel where I draw 2 Miracle Fusions in a Shadow game against Black Wings, and I lose the game because I drew double Miracle Fusion Heavy Storm while he had nothing. And if I just drew anything at that point, it would. But like you're not gonna. I'm never going to cut a Miracle Fusion down. But that's how I
Yeah.
feel about 1-for-1. It's like the power is just too great.
Yeah, I will say when I play against Frogs and they open the 1-for-1, if it's not like 1-for-1 Dandy, 1-for-1 like malicious.
Stratos. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not anything like that, I'm like, how many cards do you have in your hand? And they're like 3, and I'm like, wait, this isn't that bad. So there is that.
Well, okay, can I speak to that real quick? The thing you have to remember though, so I know people don't like to go -1 turn 1. And I think that's, sure. You don't want to have 5 cards when you're in your turn because your opponent draws and they have 6. But then when you draw again, like because theoretically you went first, so you ended with 5, they go to 6. You draw for turn, you go to 6 and 7 when Treeborn comes back. I don't mind this temporary -1 because you literally end up where you're supposed to be if you were playing a regular deck where you have 7 cards on your second draw phase. Right? Like if I never went minus, I just have 7 cards. So like to me, I've never been so hung up on the -1. I'm using air quotes here because I think that the Treeborn coming back and immediately giving you 7 cards on your second turn is like, did I really go minus? Like, and then at some point you're going to summon Stratos, some point you're going to summon Caius. The pluses will roll in. You just need to get your deck started. So that's kind of what I want to say about that.
for me, that depends if I open swap end 1/1, then I'm just summoning the swap, bouncing, and using 1/1 next turn.
Yeah.
But if I don't open any frogs and I just have 1/1, yeah, I want to get this started immediately. If
Yeah.
I have Stratos, then yeah, I'll just use it with the Stratos like turn 1. That's kind of the only difference.
I do want to point out the liability with 1/1. So Fraser mentioned going first with 1/1. When you go second versus an oppression deck, 1/1 can easily lose you the game in some spots like that. So
Yep.
yeah, it is. Yeah, there is pros and cons to 1/1. I think the pros outweigh the cons of playing it, or I think it's better to play it because of the pros outweighing the cons.
Yeah. Same
Especially in
thing
this
with
list.
Okay, so speaking of this list, then Sangan, is that actually a thing? Are people going to start playing Sangan, or is it kind of just like a this deck plays Tragoria and it's like a one-time like catch everyone off guard kind of thing?
I'm seeing it a lot more now. I've just seen James Ark was playing a frog deck. It's not Hero Frogs, but he's playing like the Death Frog or whatever build. But he was playing Sangan in his deck there. This guy got second place. He should have actually won the entire tournament. And he's playing Sangan in his main deck. I think that Sangan can work the more I think about it, but like it makes more sense with 1/1 in a deck too. So I think Sangan can work, but I think that the build could be even better if that's a thing. Like not to crap on David. David's fantastic, and I love that he brought this build into the community. But I do think that Sangan is like I can see this being good. Torrential, 1/1, Econ, like Sangan could be very good actually. In my head, I haven't tested it at all.
Yeah, Sangan can be consistent. The thing with frogs, though, I don't want to summon Treeborn Frog instead of topping a Monarch. I top deck Sangan, and you're just like, I cut Sangan in value because of how slow it was, and your Blackwing matchup is already like pretty sketchy, and now you're making it worse by adding Sangan main deck. So I can't see myself playing it, honestly, but there is merit to every card, of course.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Now that you put it that way, the Blackwing matchup getting worse is definitely something I'm afraid of because that matchup it's a prevalent matchup that's not that good. It's a matchup that you're going to play against Blackwings multiple times in any tournament that you do well in.
Rog, I'm sure you've tested this card in a million times in a bunch of variants. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's usually a card that I end up cutting, and I always start out liking it, especially because I like discard trap so much, and I love just like setting a Sangan really early, being able to tribute it, and then search a discard trap. Let me just press that. 1 sec. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, like I don't end up normally keeping it very long, and I normally cut it for something else. It's normally best in the early turns, and as 10-foot said, it's like not a good top deck. Obviously, it loses detective. It's something you usually side out. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it overall, but I like that people are trying it, and maybe people can do pretty well with it.
Okay, and then 2 junk. Like, I am scared as fuck of Junk Synchron. That card is ridiculous.
Yes.
But
And
you
my
guys,
original build of Hero Frogs, I did play 2 junks. I think this card is insane. And I often do want to add it. And now that I'm going over 40 cards anyway, because we can talk about that at some point. But now that I'm going over 40 cards anyway, Junk Synchron is a card that I can see myself adding a second copy of. The card is broken, and it's in a mirror match. It is one of the best cards in the mirror match, which I think we're about to see a lot more of going forward.
Yeah, I love Jinx Synchron, but the thing is, of all the common side cards that frogs lose to, Junk Synchron loses to all of them. It loses to Oppression, it loses to Rug, it loses to Deck Devi. So if it weren't for those cards, I would play more than 1 Junk Synchron. But because of that, I can see it as a liability, which is why I only play 1, but I love 2.
He beats over Dinah.
It does beat over Dinah, yeah.
He beats over Dinah. Look at him.
I wish I could play more, but I'm too scared of the post board.
Yeah. Every time I play 1, I'm fine. But then when I play against someone who plays 2, like Dimitri, I think he played 2. But when I play against someone who plays more than 1, I get jealous. I get jealous of people who can do that twice. Like you get to make 2 synchros in a duel? Like that's so unfair. Like I only get to do this once. This is my 1 trick per duel thing. You do it twice. So yeah, I'm jealous of it. But honestly, yeah, like 10-foot said, it loses to so many cards. And it also is a really bad card to open with sometimes. Like it's one of the cards that contributes to brick hands. It contributes to your bad hands when you open Junk Synchron.
I lost a frog mare to somebody who was playing 3 Junk Synchron, Cyber Dragon, Creature Swap. I was like, what is going on? Like, full abuse. All right. Sorry, Rog.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking, like, I'm surprised that's not one of the cards that he cut from the list to make space for the draw traps. But it's, yeah, like you said, it's like really strong in the frog mirror, but I wouldn't really put 2 for most other matchups, except for like trapless matchups like Lightsworn Dragon Turbo. Maybe he was concerned about those.
Yeah.
Could be something like that.
Are you guys citing this out? Like
Often,
against
yes.
Blackwing
Don't-
Value? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like deck heavy card.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but you guys
And
want to play
Rogue,
two
and
still?
Depression.
Yeah.
And
What'd you
Bounty
say?
Fiend.
You guys want to play two still, even though you guys are citing it out?
Like 2 is this ideal world. It's not a real world.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I've still played 1 and I'm fine with 1, and I'm one with 1. So I'm going to continue to probably just play 1. But I do, in an ideal world where people aren't playing so much oppression and shit like that,
Yeah.
and it's just frogs get to roam free. Junk Sync card is one of the best cards in a mirror match. Basically, if mirror matches became way more prevalent, which they could because some still got reprinted, then Junk Synchron, I think, is actually a card that like breaks the mirror match game 1. It's very good to make Brionic and Goyo Guardian in a mirror match.
Mhm.
Okay, so next, this list isn't playing any discard traps. Like it's playing all the draw traps. And I know Rog loves his discard traps, and I personally don't agree with no discard traps. I know David doesn't really like discard traps, but I don't know. This deck just feels like it just gets railed by Black Rowan. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
You're exactly right. This build doesn't play Unifrog either. And it basically is sacrificing its Blackwing matchup to make other matchups a little bit better. Like I imagine against Value and stuff like that, your matchup gets better because you bait things, right? Like you can bait out Raikou and stuff better than I guess our regular builds can. But the discard traps are invaluable to me. They allow you to target any card on the entire field and manipulate it. And I think that power in the hands of a good player is too strong to pass up. Now I get it. The draw traps, no one knew that this build existed before this build existed. So the first tournament where you play it, he basically won the tournament, right? Like we all saw him. He could have won the whole tournament with this build. That's a surprise build. And I think there's strength in that. But I think that now the cat's out the bag. The second someone sees a draw trap, and you're playing in like you're 10 foot of Ronak or me, and you're like, okay, Frazier is on this for the day, and now I know that his back rows aren't necessarily real. That is scary to me to just like unless you change up this build, people knowing that you're not playing discard traps is bad. It's bad once they realize that you're not playing certain cards.
Yeah, element of surprise, exactly what Fraser said. Like once they see the list, they're familiar with what your deck list is. They're going to go a lot more aggressive than they would have, and you're just going to get run over. Yeah, I do like how you can Yada into Fader or Gore's Tragodia. That's a cool idea, though.
I hate playing Yu-Gi-Oh like that. I see people do it too. I attack their Shora and they go activate Yada, and I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you trying to sack me?" And they're like, "All right, it's cool." And I'm like, "You tried to sack me."
It's optimal though. You have to.
I think
No, it is.
There you
It's literally the correct play, but it's just funny because it's like you're trying to sack me right now.
You won't believe what I just pulled out of my ass. Check this
Yeah.
out. Like,
Oh, there's a clue. They like shuffle their hand, they just drop it off the draw. So, but yeah, draw traps I think are good in frogs though, because one of my gripes with traps in frogs is that any of the traps that are not like usable whenever you feel like it can lock Treeborn, which is one of my biggest gripes with frogs. So like, draw traps can never be locked unless Jinzo happens, which is not real.
yeah, why I cut bottomless? It often gets locked when they deck dev and see bottomless. They're like, all right, I just won't commit. So
Mm-hmm.
Rog, were you gonna say something?
oh yeah, I was just going to say, like, the element of surprise is one of the biggest reasons to play any different kinds of traps, in my opinion. Like, one thing that people sometimes do is mix up the discard trap ratios, like 2 Raigeki Break, 1 Phoenix Wing. And this is kind of in the same category that, like, one of the main benefits of it is that if they're not expecting it, then you get a pretty good plus, or they might just play around something else that's not actually there, all these kinds of things. So I'm not super convinced by them, definitely, but I mean, I can see why they had success in that one tournament.
Okay, and then last thing for this list, no Unifrog main. Is this guy crazy? Because I feel like Unifrog is one of the best cards in frogs, but maybe I just don't know what
The
I'm talking about.
Blackwing matchup is in the fucking basement. It's like it's in hell.
Mm.
The Blackwing matchup is just in hell. This is one of the cards that makes the Blackwing matchup bearable. I've seen Rog do it. He was the first person I saw really make me understand that Blackwings aren't that bad, because when you do Dupe Frog, Unifrog, one of the best plays the deck can do, and just pop the Whirlwind, I'm like, yo, that is so good. A searchable way to pop Whirlwind is insane game 1. So invaluable to me. Unifrog is invaluable.
yeah, I tried cutting Unifrog and then I started losing to Hero Beat game 1. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I just re-added it back. Like,
Yeah,
too good.
another matchup. Yeah, that's another matchup where that card is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Always
even,
main deck
like
it.
when I'm playing against this deck, like I want to set my Rug and oppressions and whatever, and I just can't like safely with this card running around.
Yeah, it makes Rug very bad. It's actually funny because I talk about how every side deck card against Hero Frogs is also terrible. No matter what card you side against Hero Frogs, Pulling the Rug, Fossil Dyna, Masker Restrict, they're all either really good or awful. Like absolutely like Soul Release. They're all just they're like super volatile in what they can do because Unifrog, a searchable card, checks like half of the cards. Like Masker Restrict is not good if Unifrog is in the picture at all, and like you can just get to it by summoning Swap Frog on a Dew Frog and sending it to the grave, right? Like it's not hard to get to it. Pulling Rug, same thing, and yeah, all the cards that you side against Hero Frogs are also just bad against Hero Frogs. Weirdly enough.
Rog, do you put Unifrog in every single one of your brews?
Between the main and side, almost like all of them, yeah. Very rare for me to not have it in the 55.
But you don't always main it.
Most of the time, yes, but not always. And it kind of depends what else is there. Yeah, like it. If I have too many normal summons or something, that's a whole other discussion.
Would you main deck it in Hero Frog?
Yep, definitely.
All right.
And the original reason why I put it there, I think it was actually Gwari who suggested me back when it was like poly Hero Frogs and like 50 card list. He suggested it to me mostly just so that like the Unifrog can clear all the stuff and then your Monarchs and your Zero can follow up later. It's just like to soften up the opponent. And it's the same as Alias. It's like the same reason you play that. It trades back and forth so that your bombs can really hit later.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're back. Okay, moving on to Dimitri's YCS list, third place at Indy. Again, we don't really need to talk about the list in particular. He just had a lot of points that all ended up being in his list. For example, his heroes. I know a lot of people don't like Prodigy, and he actually put in Malicious, and he's siding Alias. So, what do you guys think about, like, because Frazier, I know you kind of play all of them besides Malicious, which is like the standard at this point.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about, like, you know, citing the Alias, you know, Malicious, Future Fusion on top of that?
I'll start because this is the list that I love the most this year, and this is definitely possibly my favorite Hero Frog list so far. And because I love the discard traps, I love the Light and Darkness Dragon, I love the melee, and this really showed me that maybe I should even start playing my old list again because it's got some old tricks and seems to work. Light and Darkness Dragon. I don't know about playing it at this moment specifically while the draw traps are so popular, because it really does mess with it. But if those fade out of popularity, I'm totally bringing this back. I think I actually really like it.
I think his main deck could benefit from a Prodigy ad. Like I actually talked to Dimitri about his list, about the low hero count, and he said that he probably just saw a really positive variance where he never bricked on heroes, but he could totally see not having enough heroes. Side deck Alias just looks really troll to me, so I would not, what do you call it, endorse that. But every card has advantages. Yeah, if I'm playing it, I would main deck it or play a like Cyber Dragon or something else over Alias. Like there's better cards for the role that Alias is achieving.
So my opinion on this is the exact same as Tenfa. Basically, the hero count is too low. That's just a fact. It actually is. It's too low. I just literally recorded a shadow game where I bricked on Miracle Fusions, which is one of the lose conditions of the deck. I always think about lose conditions. One of the lose conditions is bricking on Miracle Fusion. And of course, like he said, like Dimitri admitted to, he just saw the positive variant side of it where that didn't really happen for him. I experienced it too much throughout my time playing Edison in this last year and a half with Hero Frogs. So to me, like I just need at least 5 heroes in the main. I can't do 4 with the E-Call and the Rhoda. I also don't like playing E-Call with just 2 targets. That's a little triggering to me because I have dead E-Calls like when I try to do stuff like this. The Alias not in the main deck. I can't deal with having dead 1-for-1 because that's a card that will be dead like we talked about previously. And then you also have this dead late game E-Call thing happening. And you kill your E-Call immediately if you ever go Stratos, get Ocean Special Swap Frog, which is one of my best plays that I do. So like killing a card in your deck from doing one of your most basic plays and one of your best plays, I don't like the idea of that. Like you just killed a card in your deck immediately by doing that. The list is really good though. Outside of that specific thing, the low hero count, I love this list too. Like Rog said, the Light and Darkness Dragon seemed great, especially for the time that he used it. I think that going forward, it's worse because of the draw traps being so prevalent now. double Ryza. Ryza's really good against all non-frog decks, and it's also good against frogs in certain scenarios. Like he made me top deck a dupe frog and killed me game 1 when we played in top 4. So Ryza's nice. He just has more bombs. 1 Treeborn, love that. I'm not going to do that, but love that. Yeah, the list is good. The list is actually good. It just needs one more hero for me. Like the Prodigy is the missing thing for me, at least.
For me, it would just be the Alias instead of a Ryza. And for me, like if you're going to play Prodigy, it's either Prodigy or Mali. They both serve the same purpose. They're redundant together. Like you could contribute Prodigy for the Mali that kind of comes up, but it's not really worth doing. So I think they kind of serve the same purpose. They overlap too much. Alias would definitely be good in this list. And I guess I'll just say about the Treeborn, I personally would prefer to swap 2 Treeborn here because I love discarding Treeborn for discard traps. But I'll let you guys talk all about that.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Discard trap with Treeborn is one of my favorite openers, and yeah, you don't get that as often with only 1 Treeborn.
Yeah, and he can't defend himself with Treeborn Frog. We talked about this on my channel as well. But like when you play 1 Treeborn, you can't just bring it back willy nilly like I kind of just do right now, because it gets Caiused and that's a big deal. Or the one ready, the ready art that people play, or some people made that Book of Life. People made that crow. DD War Lady. Like I bring back my DD War Lady is another one too. I bring back my Treeborn Frog, the first one anyway, without thinking about it, because until you give me a reason to think about it, I don't think about that. And then the second they banish it, I'm like, okay, let me be careful with this next Treeborn Frog, right? This makes you have to play a bit differently, and I do think that it's invaluable to defend yourself with Treeborn Frog turn after turn. Like that is a really popular thing against like Machina Control, for example, a deck that plays triple Caius. I think that bringing back Treeborn Frog against that deck is great because they can't really do anything for a while. And then if they go Caius, you're like, perfect. I wanted you to put cards on the field so I could put my cards on the field that are better. But yeah, Treeborn, the 1 Treeborn thing, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because then he signed.
I just wouldn't do it myself. And I definitely like, as 10-foot said, like it just increases the speed. And also like Hero Frogs is a deck that benefits the most from the discard Treeborn because you have so many extra normal summons. Like you can't just, you would ideally not want to have to spend a turn normal summoning Swap Frog if you don't have to. You prefer to summon anything else. Monarchs, Dark Dragon, Stratos, Ocean,
even Dupe Frog. Yeah. Set Dupe Frog and then discard Trap Treeborn, and yeah, you're in a fantastic defensive position.
That is true.
Exactly.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, also want to correct earlier, I thought that he played 2 Junk Synchronons. He plays 2 Ryza, but not 2 Junk Synchronons. So even he's only on 1 copy of that card, probably for all the same reasons we named.
Right. You guys just talked about the 3 first points I had without me having to go through it, so that's good.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but next point I have is DD Assailant, and I know 10-foot is, he loves these types of cards way too much, more than he should, but Frazier, Rog, you guys have any input on DD Assailant? I think it's ass. It's just Rhoda is the only thing, but I don't know what you guys think.
Rog, you want to go first?
Yeah, I personally love it. I actually do. And I think like you said, it does come up for in a lot of matchups. And I think it has taken a while to see some play. And I think it has potential. And like I've personally played it in like the Aggro Frog burn list, the one that I played on Frazier's tournaments and stuff like that. And I like it there, especially because it just pokes for damage, same as it does in GOAT format. I love it there. And I think it has a lot of the same qualities in Edison.
So I don't hate this card. I've never actually played with it ever, right? So I've never tested it. But a lot of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Was just theory anyway. Like the way I played this game, honestly, guys, I've been playing this game for 15 years, probably more. A lot of what I do is just based on what I think in my head before I even have to try it out. So DD sounds a card that in theory, I'm like, I get it. It doesn't get deck devastated. It's a Rhoda target. It actually trades, like it beats over, or not, it trades with Greffer, right? You can just crash them into each other, which is nice. And it beats over Armageddonite flat out, which is also nice. It has like all these things. It beats Fossil Dyna, and it trades with Vanity's Fiend and all these things. It does all these good things. So I see a lot of positives. But then like, I think about my hands with my normal summons in it, because that's just frogs for you. And I just don't want a world where I have like Malicious and DD Assailant in my hand and like all these weird, like a mix. I play Breaker, but Breaker does something immediately. Whereas like you need Assailant to really get to the battle phase to do something, right? Like it doesn't do anything outside of the battle phase in theory. So whereas Breaker, I literally have broken a Whirlwind. I've broken a Deep Prison, attacked the I've done stuff with Breaker. So in this spot, Breaker is there for me. I could see DD Assailant being good if I really felt Vanity's Fiend was that bad, but I already side Karma Cut and Deep Prison, and I play Mirror Force and Torrential, and I sided more Soul Exchanges, and I main Soul Exchange, and I play Econ to put it in defense mode. Like, I have all these things that already deal with, like, these cards, and I think that naturally we beat over Fossil Dinosaur. To me, is like, he just seems like a redundant card almost to me. Like, I think my deck's already doing that with traps. Like, I think that the Deep Prison and the Geki Breaks and the Karma Cut, they already are doing what DD Assailant does with traps. They're not searchable with Rhoda. That's like the one crazy thing about it, is that it is searchable, but
I think this card just almost makes the mark, but it slightly misses it. It's slightly too slow because it's too small. 1700. If you could trade with Shura evenly, it would be, or I guess if you can +1 over Shura, but it eats your normal summon, and the only thing I think it has going for it is that it's searchable. Otherwise, I'd just rather have a different card where, like, I'd rather have a spell or trap over DD Assailant.
yeah.
Yeah,
Breaker, I feel like, is great. I feel like this guy is just, like, in certain cases, Breaker 1900 is actually relevant too.
Yeah.
Like, that 19 is a relevant number to be at. So, yeah, I think that if I had to choose, it would just be the Breaker for me. But he could take out this Alias out the side deck, put that in the main deck, and then just put Breaker in there, and I would love the deck more.
Okay, and then the last thing I have for this, well, two things I want to say on Wind Blast versus Raigeki Break. One, like, Fraser, I know you play 3 Raigeki Break and no Wind Blast, so just, you know, pros and cons specifically for this deck. And then 2, he's playing 5 discard traps. Rog, I know you play like 7 in some decks, which I think is freaking ridiculous. So I'll let you guys speak on, like, the 2 things I want to talk about is, like, you know, Wind Blast for Raigeki Break, and then, like, how many discard traps is optimal.
Well, I'll start then. So I think, well, for Mali, I definitely want at least 5, because 5 plus the 1-for-1, and then ideally I would even run 6. That's one of my criticisms of this list. I don't know what I would even cut for the 6th one, but I would find something. I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much, but it's there. And yeah, the pros and cons, like, I'm definitely on Raigeki Break being the best one. There's, like, I think that is just the better one. I typically want things gone. I don't want them top decking anything. Like, even if I'm clearing away a back row, I don't want them to draw another back row. I prefer them to just draw another monster or something, or at least the potential for that. And then, of course, specifically in the post side versus, like, Vanity's Fiend, Mask, all the rest of those things, there are, of course, times when Phoenix Wing is better, and you can imagine all kinds of scenarios, but realistically, they're in the minority, and that's just the way I think about that.
You want to go next, Template?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I'd say Raigeki Break is a much more consistent card. Phoenix Wing Wind Blast has the potential to be a much more powerful card, like spinning, for instance, a Royal Oppression. After you special summon, Royal Oppression is a terrible card to draw, but for something like Black Whirlwind or Caius the Shadow Monarch, you don't want to have a Phoenix Wing Wind. You'd rather have Raigeki Break every time. So, yeah, it depends on what you're going after. You should. I do 2 and 1 because what was it? I'd like the consistency of Rye Break, but sometimes having Wind Blast in some situations is a nice to have. So, yeah, you should prioritize Rye Break over Wind Blast, but.
So for me, I think Raigeki Break is the best one as well. So I think we're all in agreement there. We all play more of that than we play of the other ones. If it's like, do Raigeki Break first, then add your additional discard traps. So we all agree there. I think that Raigeki Break is perfect for Frogs because Frogs is a deck that already bypasses so many cards in the format. I do not care about so many of the other decks' cards. I only have a small checklist against every matchup that I'm worried about. Against Value, I'm only really worried about Dark Arm, Burial, Return, right? And then False Dyna, Vanity's Fiend, stuff like that. Against Lightsworn, it's the JD, it's the Christia, stuff like that. Like, but mainly JD for regular Lightsworn. And so every deck that I play against, I'm only worried about certain cards because, like, Bottomless is terrible against Frogs. Deep Prison's also not really good against Frogs, to be honest, too. So, like, these cards typically trade negative. I go Caius, banish your monster. Attack, you go Deep Prison, I went +1. I go Caius, banish your monster, you go Bottomless, I went +1. So, like, naturally, Frogs already trade so well with most of the other format decks cards that I don't have to think about them. I'm saying all this to say, I want to get rid of the ones that I do care about. The Dark Arms, the JDs, like the Whirlwinds. There are certain cards that are just, like, so scary, like opposing Caiuses. I don't want you to draw Caius again. Like Rodnick said, I can think of a million scenarios or whatever where, sure, it is good to make them top deck the Caius or top deck the JD or top deck the Dark Arm, but those are in the minority. You're coping if you think otherwise. Like, those are just the minority situation. The realistic situation is you need the card to be gone. And so because Frogs already bypasses so many, I don't need to be greedy and say I want them to draw this again. I just want to get rid of the problem. I want the return. I don't want the return back on top of the Value player's deck. That is a scary situation to be in. You still need to answer it on the following turn or kill them or something. I'd rather just be like, oh, I pop your return. I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the game. The graveyard is a great resource of knowledge. When you wing blast a back row, you don't know what it is. You might have a read on it, but you don't know for sure what that back row is. When you Raigeki break it, there's a finality in it. The Mirror Force is gone for the rest of the game. The Torrential is gone for the rest of the game. That is insane. Once I see your graveyard and I see, oh, this is gone. Oh, I can just go crazy now. So Raigeki break is insane. People don't really talk about the graveyard aspect of what it does to people as well, but like, yeah, it's the best one. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with all that as well. Enough said.
Mhm.
Okay.
Couldn't agree more.
The next card I want to talk about, and I'm really excited to talk about this card because in my head, this card is freaking bonkers. Like, I don't understand why. Like, I put some, like, you know, comments on the side. Is this card busted? Like, is this card just trash? Is it, you know, better dust shoot even in this deck? Why is no one playing this? I must know. So I know we talked about it a little bit in our chat, but I know Rognak has a lot to say, and he wanted to say for this episode. I'm just really excited to hear what you guys have to say about this card.
Guess I'll start then. So yeah, I think, well, I'll just blow it right out of the water. I think this is the best card in the Frog Mirror, and I don't say that lightly. I think that just comes from me losing so many Frog Mirrors to players who, let's just say, don't know the Frog Mirror as much as I do, and they had this card, and there was nothing I could do. So I really just had to find a way around this. And can you guess what I found to beat those guys who were playing this in the Frog Mirror? This card right back at them. So I'm just saying, like, if you really have a frog infested locals or something like this, I'd say give this a try, and I think the results will speak for themselves.
10-foot.
Yeah, it's great in the Frog Mirror. Funnily enough, Rog and I played a match. I think it was on ladder or something, and both of us flipped a water horse on each other. It was like the little Spider-Man meme.
But, God! At the same time?
Yeah. Or yeah, like one turn apart. Like he flips it, then I flip it. It was it was pretty funny. And in the Frog Mirror, it goes insanely hard. I've tried this versus a lot of different matchups. Like I've tried it versus Blackwing. I've tried it versus I think about Blackwing and other stuff, or Diva Hero, funnily enough. But drawing it mid game is often not very good. Like they have a field, and then you're top decking, Water Art. You're like, all right, cool. I guess I can hit their draw phase next turn, and then get rid of my defense. So the trade off is early game for mid game. So yeah, double-edged sword.
I could see this card being really good. I'm the guy who always says 80% chance to open Tremor Frog, right? Like I say that all the time. So in theory, if I have an 80% chance to open a water monster, now granted, the percentage does have to change a little bit because that means that out of my 6-card hand, one of those had to be Tremor and Access, right? So Water Art, if we're making room for Water Art, then it's really out of a 5-card hand. But I bet that the percentage doesn't go down that much if you go from 6 cards to 5 cards. So getting that part out the way, in theory, based on what both of you guys have said, like I agree, in theory, it is really good. In the Frog matchup, I could see this being insane. The thing is, though, I don't really like siding cards that are that narrow. If you look at my current side deck is so like splashable. I have so many, basically all of my cards, the Dust Tornadoes, so many matchups, the Karma Cut, so many matchups, the Mirror Match, Diva Hero, Zombie Decks, Amaryllis, the D Prison, same thing. Like the DD Crows, same thing. I like the cards to be spread across matchups. I don't really like siding a card that's, I'm really saying this is mainly for one matchup, especially when that matchup I don't think is that well represented. I don't think that frogs are that well represented in person, which is where I played the most. People for whatever reason just don't play the deck as much. Like I played one frog deck in Indianapolis, and it was literally in top 4 of the tournament. So, and in Richmond, I played against one frog deck as well. He's playing junk frogs. I played one in the whole YCS. I played one, and then at Nationals last year, I played against 0 frog decks in the entire tournament. So my point is that for me, who plays in real life a lot, I don't see that many other frog players. Now that could change, but I don't feel like I need this. Now, if I did play this, I would love that it would be good against Dragon Turbo in theory and bullshit decks like that. Maybe Christius one or whatever, but I don't think the card's bad. I just don't have space for it right now. My side space is so tight right now. Like I want to side it too. I wish I could have a 16th or 17th card, but like I just can't. I don't have any room.
Yeah, it sounds good in theory versus Dragon Turbo, Christy Storm, but they're also siding Mask of Restrict versus you, and that's a card weak as their side cards. You don't want to be doing that.
That's true. But then I'll just say one more thing about including it in Hero Frog specifically, is the fact that I normally would not put this in a deck that does not have a lot of extra waters beside the frogs, because then you don't open any frogs and you totally brick and you lose, and that contributes to that. But here, actually, like Tributing Ocean or like treating a 0 after they like brain control your 0 or something like this, or try to get rid of it whatever way. It actually is incredibly strong, especially in the mirror, definitely, and definitely versus those trapless matchups like a Lightsworn and Christie Storm. And as for frogs in person, I actually do think that it will gain in popularity once we get both of the reprints. Like we have 2 reprints coming up of Substitute. I have to think that that will actually affect the popularity in person. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's very real. That could happen. Yeah, Water Art's it's something.
Okay, wait, educate
We'll see.
my value infested brain here, because to me, like I understand the mid game logic, but to me that's just the same thing as Dust Shoot, and everyone's playing Dust Shoot, you know, like.
Well, okay, but there is a one of these cards does have a cost, like a real cost,
Right.
and I don't want to discredit the cost part of it or like downplay it. You do need to have a specific thing for this to activate. I know. The thing that you need to have means that my deck is just functioning, but I promise you, when you play frogs long enough, you will start to see that the deck doesn't always function, and it's gross when it doesn't. There are hands that are like Caius or Geki Break, Ryza, you know, and like Junk Synchron, and you're just like, oh my god, like what is this, right? Like you might have one good play, you might have a Soul Exchange in there, you got this one Monarch, and you're like, if this play gets stopped, I'm cooked. Like I need to top deck really well. This is one of the cards that contributes to the losing hands in those hands specifically. But earlier in this podcast or whatever, I said that I play Dust Shoot in 1-for-1 because the upside is so high. And I disregard like the downside. I acknowledge it, but I also just think that the upside is so high. I could be just not realizing how high the upside of Water Art is. I have not tested it. It's another card that I have never played in Hero Frogs. I have to be honest. Never played it in Hero Frog.
Another thing with Water Art, when you're using Water Art on your Treeborn, it means that you can't Monarch the turn prior, so it's a trade-off. So yeah, Dust Shoot, you can summon a Monarch, Dust Shoot them after, so use both cards at once. This one, you have to make decisions on whether you use it or a Monarch, so that's why it's
not as
popular.
free to use.
Right.
Yeah.
But in fact, that's a reason why I would consider it in Hero Frogs above other variants, because you do have plays beyond the Treeborn, Stratos, and the Miracle and everything. So
it works both ways. Yeah, I could see that too. Junk Synchron summon, bring back swap, bounce the Junk Synchron, set Water Art go. That's insane. Like that's fucking insane.
Yeah, it might be one of those cards though that end up being like, this card is better if you're like winning, if that makes sense. But
well, that's true for sure. That because then you just put them in a coffin. Now you can't come back. So that part is like getting Dust Shooted when you're already kind of losing, and they Dust Shoot you, and they take away your.
We're all trying to pass Dust Shoot. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, like bro, I'm dead already. I'm dead already. Yeah.
Okay. At least consider for the side deck, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Fraser, don't be offended by this slide, but I want to talk about it. Everyone is talking about this.
Bruh.
Yo, is it fake? Is it real? Or are you just content farming and you just happen to win the whole thing while content farming because you're just that good? Like,
I do think that. So here's the thing: I saw Ronak make plant frogs, and that I saw what Dandelion does in that deck, and I also saw a guy at an RBET in real life. I think he won with like a 43 card Hero Frog deck years ago, and he was playing. I think Ronak went to that too, but he was playing like a 43 card Hero Frog deck with Future Fusion in it. And at first, I did exactly what everyone else does. I said, "Oh, this card's terrible. Why is he playing this? Blah blah blah." But at the end of the day, this guy won, and I hate discrediting ideas without really thinking about it. It's something that we all do as Yu-Gi-Oh players because we all have our own egos. We all have our own shit to us. But like, the more I started thinking about Future Fusion specifically, I'll talk about Dandy, but Future Fusion, when I really thought about it, I was like, well, wait. If I play this card, sure, on the following turn, I can't bring back Treeborn. So there's one turn where I can't bring back Treeborn. But when I play this card, I'm usually going at some kind of substitute play. Or if you're playing Malicious, you can immediately get value off of it with substitute and stuff like that. So that's the first thing. Future Fusion is insane with that. But then, okay, you miss a turn on Treeborn. The following turn, there's an absolute 0 coming out. Or there's a Gaia coming out. And these monsters are, they're real. Like, Gaia has 2600 defense. Most people don't realize that, but like 2600 is a wall to value turbo. You have to do something actual. You have to Caius it, or you have to, and then good luck right going, but you have to Caius it, and you have to like Gale, you have to do like certain things to it to get rid of a 2600 wall, because you can't just like crash Armor Master into it or whatever, right? So it summons a real monster in the second standby phase when your Treeborn would come back. So you're getting something for it in 2 turns. The one turn where you miss, I think that you make that up by just plussing off of the initial activation of the card. And when you play it, it thins your deck out by 2, which is kind of crazy. Like your deck, you double upstart it when you activate this card. Like you literally double upstart. and it wombo combos. Like it just straight up wombo combos. There are certain hands that are like, oh, Future Fusion in his hand is insane. I think this card gets even better again with like malicious in your deck. Dandelion is one of the cards. Dandelion also works with discard traps. For some people, for some reason, people look at my deck and they go, oh, Dandelion sucks, and it's only good with Future Fusion. As though Ronak didn't literally make Plant Frogs that has won tournaments now. Like Leo Bach, I'm pretty sure has won a tournament or like done well with a Dandelion Frog deck. And I just think that people forget that there's 1-for-1, there's discard traps, there's like literally just setting the card in a neutral game state. I've set it on people and they literally like respect it, thinking it's a dupe frog, and then I go next turn summon substitute, tribute it face down, and then like immediately start like there's so many things that make both of these cards good. And I think that like a lot of people just kind of count them out because of not really thinking about it at all, which is what I used to do 2 years ago when that guy won that tournament with his 43 card Hero Frog deck playing Future Fusion in it. So I think these cards are real, but I also am not a person that feels like I need to really convince you to do what you like to do what I do. You can do whatever you want to do in this game and in this format especially, and you can see success doing whatever you want to do. Right? This is my second time topping with Future Fusion Dandelion in my deck because I believed in it. And I think that Ronak, when he makes his decks, he believes in them too. He plays them in actual tournaments. So like you just have to believe in your ideas and you have strong technical play. I think that you can make it work. I don't think that these cards are good in the hands of a bad player. People will attack in the deep prison with their Future Fusion monster and lose. I will never do that. I have discipline. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm a good player. So like these cards are better in my hands, but I understand why people don't want to play them because they are volatile. I get that.
I've tried it. It makes your highs higher, and it makes you more or less likely to brick on Miracle Fusion, which is a lose condition. So I personally don't play it just because I'm scared of Fossil Dine of Vanity's Fiends. It's more cards to worry about. But in game one, I can definitely see it being a stronger card than what other people are playing. So yeah,
it gets cited out a lot. But
yeah,
the reality is,
that makes sense. You cite it out often, but yeah, it's
yeah. But you know what I do though? I put it back in going first. I guess that because I didn't play modern Yu-Gi-Oh the way it is now, where it's like turn one, set up a broken board, a bombing negate, and then pass, and your opponent can't deal. I never played that Yu-Gi-Oh really, which is the current state of the game. But I have seen enough of it to understand what's happening, and I kind of realized that in Edison format, so many of the matches between two players, no matter what the skill level is, they're so close. You kind of need ridiculous things right now. I think that we've refined the decks so much in Edison format. Everyone's playing, the Eric Shen build of Vayu or whatever. People are playing Hero Frogs from one of the 3 people in this chat. People are playing the Blackwing deck from Ludo. The decks are refined. They're winning tournaments. They're topping tournaments. They're refined as hell. And so now you need an edge in deck building that's not just, oh, I sit in front of this guy and I'm Fraser Smith, I'm better than him. Because that's not true. Like, just because I'm better than you doesn't mean that I'm going to win. Right? Like that doesn't mean anything. Like you need edges. And I learned from Patrick Hoban, one of the GOATs, that literally the biggest edge you can get in Yu-Gi-Oh is literally by your deck list. It's technical play only carries you so far, and technical play only carries you in certain formats too. In a locked format like retro Yu-Gi-Oh, where we have years to play it, to refine our technical skill. At some point, it's like, bro, this guy's also good too. Like he's been playing this format for 2 years too. Like he might not be as good as you, but he's good. He's good enough to beat you. So now it comes down to, oh, what special things are in your deck? And that's where I start to think that like builds like Dimitri's, builds like mine, that do these extra things that are kind of like broken as hell. Like I'm trying to non-game you basically. If I Future Fusion you, know that my hand does have substitute somewhere in it. I didn't play it just to play it. Like you're about to get wombo combo turn 1. I'm gonna have 8 cards on the end of turn 1, which is insane. No other deck has 8 cards on the end of turn 1 besides Amaryllis and Dragon Turbo. It's not a thing. No other deck in the format does that. 8 cards on turn 1. It's insane. So it's like, yeah, the deck building matters a lot now. I feel like more than the technical play. I think anyone can just beat anyone.
Well, my initial thought on seeing this in your list was very skeptical, and that was because like this is something that I actually had in my very first list in 2021. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but this was the very first Hero Frog top, in my opinion. It was only like a 72 player tournament, and it was a 48 card list with like the 3 Sphere of Chaos and stuff. I had this in the list because I had this Sphere of Chaos Searching Dandelion for discard traps and for what else did I have for the Future Fusion as well. Yeah, like I had that in the list, and that was one of the first things I cut. So I was like, okay, so he's gonna play this, and like, there's no way that's gonna work, right? Like I was like Future Fusion. I even have like I stood by this for years, and maybe I have to revise it. I don't know, but it's pinned still in the Frog chat. and it's me talking about all the reasons why I hate Future Fusion and the frog thing. I'm sure everyone's read that.
I did
And,
actually. Yeah, I did read
yeah.
that.
Well, there you go. And like, maybe I'll be proven wrong over time, and I think there's a possibility of it.
Oh,
But
go
yeah,
ahead,
so I was
Rod.
skeptical about it. And I think maybe even like the Dandelion, I was like, well, I have like 7 discard traps in Plant Frogs, and like that's why it works for me. But like maybe with 1 and 3 discard traps and the 1-for-1, maybe that's enough. And I was like, okay, well, you know, maybe at the end of the day, it is like in Plant Frogs, like Dandelion just does really, really crazy things. And there are so many games where you just win totally by drawing 1-for-1 Dandy, or like you set the Dandelion with a Substitute and things go crazy, or you tribute the tokens for a Light and Darkest Dragon, or it just does so many wild and wacky things. And same for the Future Fusion in conjunction with that. I think like you mentioned that list, like the 43 card list with just Future Fusion on its own, that I would never, ever, ever, ever do.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's more applicable. And I suppose even that post I made was more even just talking about Mali plus Future Fusion, which is even less of an impact when it does even do well. So maybe there's a lot more to it than I even think. And I think that will be borne out over time. And certainly people who come to me for Hero Frog coaching, this is one of the main questions that they're having at the moment. Should I play this in my list? And my answer is always just like, well, it worked for him. And there's really, I mean, what else can you really do to improve your matchups and to improve your mirror match and to improve like how can you beat the best players? Maybe it's that. So I think we'll find out.
If you guys end up playing Malicious, would you guys play Future Fusion? Because Dimitri didn't play Future Fusion, but he's playing Malicious.
I think I would. Me personally, because I think that it. So I think that if you play Future Fusion, Malicious is really good with Future Fusion. I don't like Malicious because drawing Malicious is so goddamn bad. But I think Future Fusion and Malicious go together so well because of Diva Hero. We've all seen it, what they do. Now we don't do Diva turn 1 and all that, make a level 8, set 3 back row pass, or whatever. But we can go Substitute Future Fusion, which is insane. And so yeah, I do think that those 2 cards are really good together. I think that Future Fusion and Malicious in the deck are just like good cards.
There's one thing I'll add to that is that if you're playing Light and Darkness Dragon in your Hero Frog list as well, then it's definitely way more of a yes, because the real issue is what you do with Malicious when you already have a Treeborn. And if you have a good conversion for that, me, I actually love straight up pure regular polymerization for that. I love using Treeborn plus Mali, whether it's from the grave or from the hand. That's just me personally. But if you have a conversion for what to do with that second Mali besides just Substitute, I think then it's actually a really strong contender for being in the list.
I wanted to say this too. People don't know this because the list hasn't been released to the public. Steve Silverman, who won YCS Vegas, he's playing my list basically. He played Future Fusion in his deck and his Hero Frog deck that he won with. I have his deck list and I just haven't done a video on it yet, but I'm probably going to do like a call with him and make a YouTube video. So look out, on Iron Nerd podcast for that video soon. But I do have his list. I've had his list for some time now, and he blatantly main decked Future Fusion when he won Vegas at like part of the 3v3.
Is he playing Dandy?
No, he was not
he's
playing Dandy.
Malicious.
No, he wasn't playing Malicious.
Oh, he's not playing. Oh, wow, he's just playing
Yeah.
Future Fusion.
Yeah, Future Fusion, and he was like, the card was cracked. Like it was just insane. He's basically playing my exact list minus Dandelion. He's playing 40 cards, and yeah, Future Fusion was a part of it. So,
There you go.
but yeah, the list will come out, and it has the same 5 heroes, like the 5 hero line that I'm known for, like the 1 Prodigy, the 1 Alias, the 1 Ocean, the 1 Stratos. That whole he's playing that exact 5 exact guys or whatever, 1 of each. No Malicious or anything like that, no Dandy, but yeah. So Future Fusion has actually been out here, but people don't realize it, and I think that more people just need to try it. And if it doesn't work for you, by all means, do not force yourself to like it because I won a tournament with it, or I topped the tournament with it, or anyone else topped or won a tournament with it. I don't think that's a good reason to do anything, to be honest.
And also don't reject it just because I have.
Agreed.
Oh yeah. Come to your own conclusions. Like we're
Always.
just people at the end of the day.
Exactly. We're all
We're people with
here. None of us-
opinions. We got
Yeah.
luckier than other people.
Yep, on that day.
Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about, deck dev. Is this card actually that good against Frog Hero? Like, how badly do you think you need to side against it? Do you hate seeing this being flipped on you turn one. Like this card, I feel like is being talked about a lot right now, and like how good or good isn't it an X matchup, and I feel like this is a big one.
It is good
Oh.
versus Hero Frog. Or I'll let Fraser go.
Oh, okay. I think that this card, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's better game one, right? Like we have the most targets for a game one. Outside of game one, though, in games 2 and 3, where people have it the most likely, it's way worse in my opinion, just because not only do we side down on targets, which is so everyone knows that now. That cat's out the bag. Everyone knows that the frog players are smart. We're sliding down on targets. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this card gets so bad if we already have Treeborn access. I guess it just scales horribly once the Treeborn's already in the graveyard. All the Monarchs and the Miracle Fusion, stuff like that, they just become like real threats. And the person who played this card, they definitely went -2 cards. Like you lost a threat because it's 2000 attack Dark Mind. You lost a threat and a trap. So you lost 2 cards against a frog deck that's known for just generating advantage, and you're hoping that you hit at least 2 to 3 cards with it. That's probably not happening realistically. Realistically, doesn't happen unless you get the lucky, like you went first and you just immediately did it, which is why I play Triple Crow, because good luck with getting out, your guy when I play Triple Crow. But yeah, this card it's just okay to me. It is not a blowout card against frogs. Like people talk about it like it's like against fairies or something where they just lose. Like I've won so many games where I show my opponent my hand and they're like, damn, I'm cooked. Like, yeah, you're cooked.
Yeah, I think that's just what the nature of the card. It's a high variance card by design. Like if you can get it off early before they toad combo, or even just using it to break a dupe block and make it miss timing, like it did its job. But yeah, I think the frog deck is just overpowered, honestly. Like Fraser said, like all of the side cards will have their moments where they're just completely useless. So this is a good side card sometimes it's a bad side card.
Yeah.
It's definitely not at its strongest versus Hero Frog for sure. And there's a lot of tools that you have to combat that between the Monarchs and the Miracle and even whatever else you're siding for. If you're siding the Assailant, that's actually a really strong post DDV.
Breaker.
Yeah, Breaker as well. All these kinds of things. Even the Shark one not as much, but even that can be as well. But there are definitely times when that knowledge that it gives them actually really puts you in a bad spot, and like you kind of just have to go full ham on them and just like pretend that their cards aren't real, and if they are, then you kind of just lose in that point, because
Yeah.
if they know everything you got, then they're probably playing the long game much better than you are.
Yeah, I feel like the hand knowledge is really OP and people don't talk about that enough. But I do agree, like only hitting like 1 or 2 for 3 turns is really, really rough as the deck
Yeah.
player.
Stratos mitigates this card a lot. Like the +1 and a beatdown of 1800 Stratos makes this card not as Stratos is just an insane card, bro.
Mhm.
Hero Frogs is so good because it plays Stratos, and it like that +1 in a deck that already +1s every turn, and it's a monster that's above deck Devi. It's a monster that beats over Greffer, beats over Armageddon Knight, beats over Aaron. Like there's so many things that Stratos just does. So when you deck Devi me and I show you a hand that has E-Call or Stratos or Rhoda, and it's like, okay, you hit my substitute, but like that better be pulling the rug as the other back row if you set 2 or so, you know what I mean? Like it's just, yeah, the card is so volatile.
Yeah,
In Tip words, it's very volatile.
Armed Wing turn 1, if I don't have the rug or like anything for the Stratos, it's over. I just went like -3, and you went like at least +1 with the Stratos. Like that's so crazy.
Yep, big bad.
Yeah, Stratos running over Dark Greffer for free is just cruel and unusual for you.
Yes, yeah, and being a +1 on top of all of it, like, bro, that card is. Every time I play a frog deck that's not Hero Frogs, right? The only one that feels really close to its power to me is that I really play with a lot was Plant Frog feels really good because Dandelion's insane, and so is Lone Fire to Titanium, stuff like that. So I like that deck a lot. But the turn 1 like Stratos thing is just such a good opening in frogs in general, and it fixes the reliance on Treeborn Frog that the other builds tend to have. And so like it counters so many of the things in the format. Like Stratos just counters like, oh, Fossil Dyna, the Stratos, he dealt with it. Like even if he didn't deal with it literally, he searched a card that dealt with it. He searched Ocean or Alias. Like later on, that makes Dyna awkward. Like your opponent knows you have this monster that beats over it, makes it super awkward for them now.
Yeah, Hero Frog is frogs, and then 30% of the time you're playing hero beats, and yeah, it's a very, very what do you call it, versatile game plan. So
yeah,
you guys are making it seem like the best deck. One bad matchup, that's crazy.
I mean, we all play it, so I feel like it kind of is.
Oh god. That matchup chart is still funny to me.
Yeah, that's crazy. Any
Yeah,
closing
well,
thoughts
I'm-
before we end this video?
Hero Frogs is definitely one of the absolute best decks in the format. I think that is undeniable now. There was a point where people were coping last year, making videos saying, "What has this deck even done? It's not even that good." Blah blah blah. Like just a lot of just bad narratives being put out there by people who aren't even that good at the game. And I think that now that there's more good players entering the game now. Like there's just blatantly more people who are good and they're playing and they're picking up this deck and they're doing well with it. And I think that it's a testament to not only the deck's power level, but just how good the cards are individually on their own. Like every side deck card against the deck is actually just terrible at the same time that they're good. I learned that from a true hero from playing against him. Actually, I stopped side decking against Diva Hero because I was side decking cards like Point a Rug and DD Crow and Soul Release and whatever, like D Prison, just like all these cards I would try to side against Diva Hero. Because remember, last year was the year of Diva Hero. He topped every tournament for like 6 months straight. So Diva Hero was a big deck last year. And I realized that siding against it was just awful. Like it's awful. Every card that I was like, man, Crow's terrible here because you have 2 waters and 2 heroes now. And then like Pulling a Rug is terrible here because you just didn't Caius me or Diva me here. You just like beat me down with the rest of your deck plan. Like Gruffer, Pitch Molly, Send Plague. And like I'm just losing to that now. And that is something that I didn't realize, but Hero Fox has the exact same thing going on where you put in these cards against me and they are awful in situations that are more likely than not. Like I think it's like a coin flip almost, like 50-50 when if your Dyna does anything, or if you're pulling a rug does anything, it might just get unifrogged, right? Like and that wins games. Like the Hero Frog deck thrives off of side deck cards. People think that frogs lose to side deck cards. I think that they actually thrive off of side deck cards more than they lose to them now, especially if you play them like correctly.
Yeah, Fraser mentioned the pyramid of like how it looks. I feel like Frog Hero wins tournaments, and the other decks that we mentioned, they don't win tournaments. So
Yeah,
I think
not
it
as
makes perfect
frequently.
sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't see Emmer, or I don't see like Twilight Lightstorm winning tournaments. I don't see like Machina Control winning tournaments. Like I think it makes perfect sense that the pyramid looks the way it does.
Yeah, it's a good pyramid.
Mhm.
It's a good. I think it's. I think it's a good pyramid.
Yeah, very
Oh,
accurate.
yeah. Ronak as the guy who made the deck basically. Closing thoughts for you?
He invented every frog deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, in theory, they
Yeah.
all stem from the All Father.
He was
Yeah.
at Konami when Treeborn Frog was being designed and printed.
Yeah, I'm always proud of this deck, and I guess people always ask me why I'm not always playing it all the time, given that it has been having so much success and everyone is known for topping with it and everything. And really, that's just the way I am. I'm always just trying to invent the new thing and to find something that hasn't been discovered yet and to inspire people in some new way. And I think the fact that that Hero Frog, well, it's done its job for me. It's mission accomplished. People have taken it in their own direction. People are having immense success with it. So that just inspires me even more every single time to create something new that will inspire people even more. And we'll see where we get there. It could possibly be the best frog deck ever. I guess we'll only find out with time, won't we?
So, on that note, I'm going to say that I have never felt as challenged as a Hero Frog player that it wasn't the best deck until kind of recently, where people are starting to play these Fishborg Blaster Death Frog decks. That those
Yeah.
scare me, and because they remind me of Frog FTK more than they remind me of like a regular Frog deck. They don't look like they're trying to duel, and that is the scare. I don't want another Dragon Turbo deck in this format, but like I think that we're slowly getting to that point. People are working on decks that are Frog related that are not trying to really duel you. They're trying to Colossal Arm you or set up a field of advantage that is just so overwhelming. And so it's what I'm saying is that there's a chance that my mind has changed on Hero Frog being the best frog deck and that it could be something else. And I didn't have that thought before. Like if you asked me at YCS Richmond, November 2023, what do you think is the best frog deck? I would have staunchly said like it's Hero Frog, right? Like it's just very clear. And now I'm starting to slowly like wonder about it. And now, granted, Hero Frog is still out here doing the most, but that's just because the other option isn't that explored yet. Like it's just starting to get there with these Fishborg Blaster decks, and I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen with that.
Yeah, that's definitely a candidate for me. And I think that also kind of is a point that I like to make about certain frog decks is that I don't actually know what is going to be the case if, say, for example, all the Hero Frog players were to get really good at that deck and they all just practiced like all of the combos and they knew all the end boards and all the interactions. What would they do better with? And I don't know the answer to that. And one thing that happened for me is I started coaching, for example, Leo Baca, and he was playing Hero Frog for a long time. and he was doing pretty well. And like he still plays Hero Frog now. He brings it to tournaments from time to time. But the deck that he's done best with, because I've really coached him in it, I've taught him all about the discard traps, about the rulings with Lightning Dark's Dragon, and with all the different combos and the sequencing and everything. And he's done the best with Plant Frog so far for me. So I don't know if maybe there's a deck out there that really depends if you really have to know it inside out to get better results with it. I know that for certain, I doubt there will ever be a Frog deck that is better for beginner players than Hero Frog. It's just like
Forgiving.
a player that's starting out and like absolute zero monarchs, do block everything like that. That's very intuitive for newer players, and that's just something that like can automatically get them a lot of success. And that's, I think, when you scale it up to like the mean of average players, like you can't really necessarily expect everyone to play that Fishborg deck and to automatically do well with that. You know what I mean? So there was some other point I was trying to make, but I'll let you just say what you want to say about that. I can't remember what I was going to say.
That deck gets hit really hard though by side deck though. So I don't know. Like Crow messes it up a lot. DDV.
Yeah, that is the build that you're right. That is the build that is more weak to side deck cards, where Hero Frogs has that resilience that might be worth more than anything else.
Yeah, DDV is almost an auto win because they need like 5 cards in hand to Colossal Army Arm a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Ronak is cooking. The UK people are cooking. I'm just saying that for the first time I feel challenged. You know, James just topped with that's Frog. That's like a mixture of the UK build and also like just regular, because he's playing Kai's where they weren't. I think Kai's is insane. I love Kai's in almost every Frog deck. So, you know, anything can happen.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll call it. Guys, I just want to thank you for your time. It's been a long video, but I had a lot of fun, and it was just I think it's great content. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having
Great
us.
to be here.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out, guys.
See ya.
Peace out.